Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and joining me as usual is Mario.
Alan's here.
Don't spoil the rest of the introduction, Mario.
If they're watching, they can see his face.
I know, but I was gonna... Connor's here too,
Yeah, but Mario gets just excited. You just gotta let him do these things.
and our Marvel correspondent, Alan Malden, is here.
Alan's here, MFers.
Yeah, surprise.
First.
Surprise, Alan's here.
Probably only Timmy that's listening that's a fan of CBA.
That's okay. I do everything for Tim anyway. So I live my life just to appease Tim.
Leave your life quarter Tim at a time.
Alright guys, let's talk about Agent Carter. Season 2 debuted last night. Episodes 1 and 2 aired at the same time. Well, not the same time, back to back. Same time would have been silly because that would have been hard to watch. But they did this last year because I remember thinking a very similar thought last year about halfway through the first one, going, "Oh, there's a second one that I need to watch now." But yeah, so this is Agent Carter, episodes 1 and 2 of season 2. Full spoilers as always on this show. The first episode is called The Lady in the Lake, and the second episode is called A View in the Dark. So, who wants to? Alan, you're returning for this. So, how did you feel about the opening 2 episodes of Agent Carter season 2?
Well, we talked last year, I guess, about how a lot of the shots and stuff and like the locations felt like it didn't have very much of a budget, really. Because they would constantly use like the same locations over and over and over again,
Right.
and I thought that they did a much better job this time with these 2 episodes because we got a lot of different locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Joe, I think the trick is with that. They've moved it to LA, right? And they're using locations, not always, but a lot of them it's like, oh, it's just some trees in the background. Or,
Or even some of like the bridges and stuff at the end, like the first episode.
yeah.
That's just underneath the bridge. So
Yeah.
it looks like, oh yeah, this is, and some of the lights that are on there, they're there left over from back in the 40s or whatever they were built, but they don't really use them anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So they probably just lit them for that shot.
Yeah, it's just smart location picking, because I know, like, in the UK, actually, it's actually quite easy to do, like, a period piece if you want to do something set in, like, Victorian times.
So easy.
Because those
Because their
streets...
buildings are older than our fucking country. That's why.
Yeah, but no, there's actual streets that have still got cobbled roads, and you can just, like, if you
Yeah.
find the perfect street, get permission to shoot, that's you, you've got a location.
They did a whole load of Doctor Who's Victorian stuff in a street up by me.
Yeah.
Because it's just so many of them.
What did your stock man?
What?
What were you stocking back then?
Just everything.
Just every.
What season was it? Was it Billy Piper? Was it
No, it would have been 3. So it would have been
Freema?
yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Oh well. Boy's got his stock. No, I agree with Alan's main point that he was getting at, is that he was saying that the locations are a bit more varied, and I agree with that. It doesn't feel like they're reusing the same side of one street over and over again. So that's nice. That's
I
improvement.
also think that it being in LA actually helps with like the kind of like noir pulpy feeling.
Yeah.
Especially if you've seen LA Confidential or a lot of
Played the
those
game LA Noir.
that yeah. I've never played that, but sure.
This felt like something straight out of LA Noir.
Okay. Well, there you go.
A little bit. Even the one that's not in LA, funnily enough, but the one who stays back at the office and is like interrogating the Black Widow bedroom agent person, he looks even a little bit like the main character from LA Noir. Now that you say that.
Kind of, yeah.
But here's where I kind of come from. I think it's still a little bit non-exciting for me. I don't know if that's just the time period. I'm just not that fond of it, really, in general. Maybe it's just that. It could be. I do think that they've done a better job so far, at least, of having some more interesting science fiction-y like plots. Like the opening of the first episode in LA. you know, as soon as I shows up and it's like, oh, it's like so hot, it's Los Angeles, they're all sweating buckets, I'm feeling hot just watching it, and Connor's basically melting probably just watching that part of the episode.
I was getting tense.
It's
and
just he's
starting
just
to feel
purple.
worried.
Yeah.
He's just skin cancer all over.
He's rubbing suntan lotion on as he's watching this. He's like, oh, I need to get all the nooks and crannies.
I feel like it was about to just start seeping out of the screen at me and just start affecting me that way. There was so much of it.
And then, you know, there's ice on the lake, which was pretty cool. It really set up a nice, oh, what's going on here? That's not normal. You know?
It reminded me of the beginning of, what was it, season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they had to deal with the ice guy, and he was on the ship out in, I think it was somewhere in Africa.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I remember that now.
That was what it reminded me of. And I was like, and there are a lot of, like, obvious, I think, kind of tributes to that show in this.
Well, I was going to leave this for later, but since we're hitting at it, there's two possibilities to what was revealed at the end of episode 1. I can't remember what they call it. Was it Ionide? No, it wasn't Ionide. They call it something. They had a name for it.
Oh, the company.
No, but no, they called the material something. That was like
Oh, it was
Um,
like zero
matter.
zero, yeah.
yeah, something like that.
So they show that at the end of the first episode, and I'm like, oh, is that the... Because obviously the stuff that's going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which presumably you'd probably be watching that if you're watching Agent Carter, but I'll stay away from spoilers, but there's something in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's very similar to that, right?
Right.
And when it popped up, I sort of went, oh, they're connecting this to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. by bringing that stuff into it. And then I looked closer, I was like, no, wait, it doesn't look exactly like it. It's a little bit different. Like a different colour, kind of, but it's very similar. And I was kind of annoyed. I was like, well, if it's not going to end up being connected to that in some way, this feels like a really odd writing choice to put something in that's so similar, where I'm sitting thinking, is this connected? Is it the same thing? Is it, you know... It feels like an odd choice to me.
Yeah,
Well-
but the logo on the pin tells me that it is very much connected, and it is pretty much the same stuff, or
Right.
at least a different variation of it.
Also, whenever they're watching the test footage of the explosion and all that, and like
Yeah.
they get sucked, like the soldiers get sucked into there. Well, I can't really say this without spoiling Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 2,
I know
but
what you're getting at.
like whenever they go to that place and they see those remains, it was like, okay, well that's how that got there, you know. That's what I thought.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. That makes it a lot more interesting to me, because I was a little concerned that it was something different, because they never quite... Because they definitely give it its own origin of how it got here, because the one in S.H.I.E.L.D. that we're talking about, we know has been on Earth for thousands of years.
Right.
Which is what threw me off, because I thought they showed where this came from. This was during nuclear bomb testing.
Yeah, it was the pin and the logo on it being the same one from S.H.I.E.L.D. that told me that this is another variation of that, and they're researching it alongside it, presumably.
Yeah, I never noticed the pin being the same. So
And also, Carter, she recognizes the symbol too, so that kind of told me that there's some history with her and this kind of like cult or organization or whatever you want to call them, Hydra, I guess.
or subsidiary of Hydra.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've got a good evil corporation. When you've got subsidiaries.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm telling you, Peter's planning.
oh yeah,
It's just a matter of time.
He's doing his research.
going to take over the world. So it's totally what I'm going to do.
List man.
I will say some of the stuff in this was a little bit goofy though. How did you guys feel about the the freezing of the body, then completely shattering to little bits and all that stuff?
Reminded me of
Fine.
early Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, they did that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that episode that you mentioned,
Yeah.
but it's fine,
I
I
think
guess.
It kind of just meshes a bit with the tone that they're going with for everything else, is the problem.
Well, I mean, the biggest problem with having the show is the tone, because it still relies way too much on you liking the main characters,
Yeah,
like Peggy Carter and what's his face,
Jarvis.
Jarvis.
Like it really hinges on that greatly, and not just because they're not really adding as much to the character. Like Jarvis hasn't gotten a whole lot of development. It's more of you just need to like him, period.
Yeah.
And it hinges a lot on that, and so that's why it's a lot of the other stuff just doesn't work out too much. Because there isn't a whole lot there. Like it's not just as interesting. There isn't a huge there isn't a more cast. So with Agents of Shield, there's a bunch of different characters we play with that we like, and they all do different things. And like with season 3, we like the fact that they're switched around. Now we have different dynamics going. With this show, there isn't really time to do that, and that there isn't as much of that there.
Joe, you may be actually hitting on the main problem with the show is that the characters don't really get a chance to grow and have arcs because Peggy's this thing in Cap's past that we know of, and she has to kind of maintain what we think of as Peggy through the whole show, so she's not really allowed to change. And the flip side of that is if they do have her change, they have to have a way of her coming kind of back round almost. You know?
But you have to be temporary.
Yeah, it'd have to be temporary. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right because Jarvis hasn't really grown at all either, and he's fine. I think they have some funny moments. The pink flamingo stuff was, amusing.
I enjoyed the addition of his wife as well. Thought
and that
nice
was
counterpoint to him.
The one thing that helped because he also mentioned her a lot in the first season. It was nice to actually see that she's actually there. And some, I mean, there is some stuff there that you can just kind of fill in, like, oh, he's this way, and it's interesting that he has a wife that's so different from him, and blah blah blah. There's other things you can add to it, but there isn't much there. Since we've already been with these 2 characters for a whole season, and from the first episode of the first season to now, I mean, what difference is there really? Like Peggy has, I mean, she's obviously the star of the show, but other than that, what else is there? So, I think that's ultimately why I think a lot of us kind of feel the same way. This is definitely better than last season, but I do feel the same way as I did last season, where there's enough things here that would interest me and that could be cool, but for some reason just isn't latching me on. It doesn't make me like, oh, I can't wait for the next episode.
And I'm not just saying this because there was a scene with them watching a real film, but it kind of has that Man in the High Castle kind of vibe going for it. Not exactly the same, but there's a similar kind of, the characters aren't growing as much. The concepts are interesting, what they're playing with, but it's...
I think it's enjoyable to watch. I just don't feel the need to care. Once I finished watching it, I don't feel the need to care beyond it towards the next episode. But when it's on and I'm watching it, I'll still enjoy it, like pretty much every week, I'm sure.
Right. I think that this idea of having it be year to year, because it's supposed to be like 1946 and then 1947 and then 1948, isn't helping. Because I thought we were kind of present the idea that she's going to help build S.H.I.E.L.D. And that was supposed to be like, imagine something like the S.H.I.E.L.D., where that's obviously got a story that threads in the entire all the seasons together, similar to that, just an idea of this is ultimately leading to something. And while it still is, it's still taking its time though. Like this Lady in the Lake, like what does that really matter to anything? Like nothing really.
Well, that's the point though. I don't think it is building. I mean, don't get me wrong. They might like if they get a season 3 or maybe at the end of this season, maybe whenever it happens. Yeah, I'm sure they'll do the last storyline. Will be let's build an organization. Let's do this.
Right.
But I don't think, we were thinking this whole thing is going to be about her building the Starter Shield and what that's going to be. In reality, all it is like a detective, a spy show with, like, kind of an ongoing plot with kind of, like, mystery of the week kind of stories as well.
Yeah.
Thrown in.
Yeah. I feel like this is a little bit more CW, especially with all, like, the love triangle stuff that's going on.
Yeah, there's that.
I do feel like Sousa's character, the guy with the limp, I think that he's kind of growing a little bit, and he's kind of like struggling because now he has this other woman that he's in love with and everything. But he also you can tell that he still feels for Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just sees her, he's like, damn.
Yeah.
Forget how hot you are.
Do you know, it's funny actually. I think the most interesting moment for me in episode 2 is when he thought she was in trouble. Or she thought she was in trouble, and he started like throwing a complete fit in the office. He was pulling a Kylo Ren and just like with his crutch, and he's just like wrecking the office. I
want to see somebody do that now. If you have the ability to do this, I guess you can't really do it because it's not out yet. But once the Blu-ray comes out, I'm sure to take that scene with Kylo Ren and replace it with just crutch and just fucking have him hitting everything. Get better.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing. I really like him, but I don't think it's because this character is particularly great. I think it's because I liked him in Dollhouse. And it's the same actor, so I'm kind of seeing his face and I'm like, oh, I like this guy.
Well, I think you naturally are more inclined just because he's the only face you recognize other than the two main characters.
Yeah.
So already you have some weight carried with him because you understand that they obviously kind of had this situation with Peggy, and there's more weight to that relationship. But like I said, I mean, there's nobody else really there.
And I remember we reviewed all the first season last year, and I think I remember saying, specifically when we got the news of season 2 moving to LA, I said, what was the point of Lindsay Fonseca's character? They built her up all season, and then she moved in with Peggy at the end of the year at Stark's mansion, and she's just gone now? Like, what was the point of her?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that felt really just weird about this new episode, because did they even mention her?
No, I don't think there was a single mention of her.
Right.
That's what was weirdest to me. Like, there was all these returning faces still, a few of them, bunch of new ones, but then this character who was one of the main ones in the first season and was built up throughout it, and like you said, to the point where they moved in together like they were partners almost, and then just nothing.
Yeah. Because I almost felt like it was building almost to she'd eventually find out what Peggy actually does, because she never did in the first season.
Right.
And then she'd kind of be an apprentice almost, like she would like want to do something more with her life or something like that, and or I don't know, but I felt like it was building. It should have been building to something at least, and it never did, and now she's just gone.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's just kind of meh.
Also, that the Black Widow chick that they were interrogating.
Dottie, right?
Is it Dottie? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember if she showed up in the second episode because obviously I watched these back to back, but it seemed like she should have been more the focus for the season.
And it's weird. And, like, she's kind of obsessed with Peggy now for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like because they're going like this sci-fi route that obviously has something to do with. I think it really does have something to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That because they're doing that, they're kind of like steering away from that and just like, hey, we're still related to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Do you know what I feel? I feel like this should have been it feels like they were still designed for a 22 episode season where they would have done this stuff that's kind of related to S.H.I.E.L.D. first, and then that stuff with the Black Widow would have been the back half of the season. Whereas they kind of don't really know what they want to do with this shorter season still.
I think it comes down to, and I've not actually looked at all the names involved in both shows yet, but I think it's mostly different people, or at least
I think so.
Or it's the B squad, if you will, like that are working on this, and it's just kind of like, it's not the good talent necessarily. They're using all the good people on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and
right.
And it's funny
saying that though. It does seem like a lot of the story beats and like how things shift scenes and everything. It does feel very much like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like they're trying to imitate it. Because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. you get a lot of people talking in the office or on the jet, and then it'll switch to other people talking in another location, and that happens a lot in Agent Carter. And I feel it feels very much like that, and also like the texture, the color palette, and all that stuff too, probably adds to it because they look very similar.
I do want to compliment it on one thing though. They introduce a character who appears to be dead by the end of the second episode, but I'm not entirely convinced he is because we never actually see any bodies. I don't think we did anyway. I can't remember his name, but the black scientist who
Wilkes.
Wilkes, was it Wilkes?
I think so.
Because they introduced him, and I thought, oh, this is interesting given the time period, because it's not even the 50s yet.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought maybe they're just not going to mention this. They're just going to play it off as like it's normal. It's almost like present day where no one's even going to mention that he's black. But then there was actually a proper reference to it a couple of times. Yeah, because he mentioned it when he was telling his backstory essentially.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fine. But then when they actually went into the store to try and get change for the phone, and the guy's just completely racist, I was like, oh, you know what, props. I thought you were going to avoid that.
It's, to be fair, they've always been good at that. 'Cause last season they did it with Peggy, with her being a woman, and it's the same thing, just actually suiting the time period.
Right.
But I think I thought they were going to ignore it, so I'll give them props for that. And I also think it does relate nicely to Peggy's sort of struggle in season 1, where at least her peers seem to respect her now.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if the events in season 1 earned that for me, but I mean, I would say she should be respected anyway, but I'm saying that season 1's plot wasn't that epic or grand or.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't think it was meant to be. I think it was just like that they respected her because she proved that she can do what they do, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, then she figures out a lot of things that they don't.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. Although,
Right.
as our partner, boss guy, pointed out in episode 1 of this, she did not notice that her neighbour was a Russian spy.
Yeah.
which was amusing. I did like him throwing that in her face. That was kind of funny. Yeah, I think she's good. I think her and Jarvis have good chemistry. It's kind of the same as season 1. I do think it's a little better. The location's better.
Yeah.
They are at least trying to do more interesting things with the plot, but I don't know if I'm actually that invested in it yet.
Yep. Yeah, it would really help to have just more plots going along and having more time to follow somebody else to kind of get. It doesn't really feel like the people when other characters leave, like they actually have lives. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems I have. They just kind of seem to be like just there for the sake of the story, for this one story. They don't actually feel like you're checking in on them.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to flesh someone more out so they actually feel like, oh, this is 1940s LA, and this is other things that would have happened at that time.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest problem is it's wanting to be or wanting to stay connected to Agents of Shield as much as possible, and I don't know if that's like mandated by the studio or whatever, but it definitely feels like that. And I think that's probably weighing it down in terms of story.
I agree, but I don't think the problem is specifically that they're trying to connect it to S.H.I.E.L.D. I feel like they could still do it and do it as much, but I feel like they could have done that but had like the Black Widow chick and the Red Room stuff. Like they could have had that be the focus, but still have that somehow like interweave with however they want to connect it with this material, right? But instead, what they've chosen to do instead is just write this whole new plot about this company and this guy who's part of the organization and his wife who's like an actress, and they're basically shit Underwoods, basically. This politician and his wife.
Yeah.
Where she knows he's having an affair and all that. Which I guess may not spoilers for House of Cards, but I mean.
Yeah, I know we got confirmation that Whitney Frost is gonna be in here, but I don't even know if she's gonna be Madame Mask or not.
Well, I think she is based on the way the second episode ends.
Yeah.
She has that scar on her head or whatever.
Right, but I don't know if she's actually going to become like Madame Mask. Or just going to be like a version.
Yeah, I doubt it because it doesn't really seem like she could fight whenever she was fighting with.
Well, that's what I meant. It's like
just, or whatever.
So it just kind of sucks that they're using a character that I'm assuming they're not going to be able to use unless her daughter somehow later picks it up and now she's introduced as Madame Mask in the future. But
yeah.
And then with the scientist, he could potentially be like a Blue Marvel.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a scientist that gets powers and then ends up being like, was he like ex-military, ex-something, and then turns to a scientist, and then so it's Blue Marvel.
That's true. I didn't think about that. But yeah, the first time I forgot that Madame Mask was supposed to be in the season completely. Yeah. And whenever Peggy first gets out of the car to go into the LA headquarters of SSR or whatever, in the background, you can see like on a movie theater like awning, it says Tales of Suspense starring Whitney Frost. I was like, holy shit, there's a Madame Mask reference.
And then later on they're like, hey, this is Whitney Frost. Like, holy shit, she's in the show.
I was like, well, that makes sense. I also like the Tales of Suspense thing. I thought that was cool. Nice little reference.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in Ant-Man he said Tales to Astonish.
Yeah, exactly.
Some little thing. Do we have much else left to say about Agent Carter?
I just hope that they're just building up to something.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we first started talking about it, we mentioned that we kind of things that we hoped they would do, and then with Ant-Man coming, and then obviously them showing stuff in the past, they didn't go obviously as far back, but we kind of mentioned, well, if they're at this age in Ant-Man, there's obviously backstory to even the back scenes in there. So at some point, the two could meet.
I think I remember reading that they were tying in somehow to Doctor Strange.
This season, yeah, because they're going to mention something from Doctor... I mean, either material or energy from Doctor Strange is going to get brought up at some point.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, but actually doing it, like
Yeah.
not just here's this energy that really brought up the movie. Just actually have the characters to have actually the building of Shield. But I don't understand why it matters. That's the thing. I don't understand why they're being limited. Like showing Shield in the 50s, like why does that impact anything?
Yeah. I don't know. That's strange.
It's just not the show they've decided to do, and I think it's. I think a show set in the 50s with like the early days of Shield and trying to establish it and have Shield as an organisation prove itself as being something that's needed would probably be a much more interesting show. But no, that's what we got. I mean, I think it's obviously the weakest Marvel show. I think.
Yeah.
By a margin. I mean,
I still have fun with it though. So
yeah, there's still fun moments. But I mean, this will be blasphemy perhaps to the two Marvel guys here. But I mean, I do enjoy Flash and Supergirl more than I enjoy Agent Carter. I look forward to them more.
I would agree. I enjoy this while I'm watching it, but I'm not looking forward to the next episode. Like when it's there, I'll watch it, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But you tell me, the next episode of Flash is here. It's like I want to watch that right now.
Yeah, because I mean, there's stupid stuff in those shows. There is, no doubt. But I'm always having fun. Like whereas this sometimes just was kind of bland. There's people standing in a room talking to each other about things.
I would probably feel the same way if it wasn't on CW. Because I feel like Flash being on CW and like forcing all this love stuff to go on.
I love
just
that. I love
really
how you
brings
said
it
that.
down.
You're saying that now, but literally like 5 minutes ago you said this show's kind of CW like, or was that?
No,
Mario?
I was saying it has elements of CWs, more CW.
But he is counting it as negatives.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But I just.
Well, that's the first thing that said that to me. That's why I quit Flash, because it was Iris and all that bullshit. I'm like,
Not. These are fair
God
points.
damn it, it'll go away.
These are fair points.
Let him be Flash.
I think, and this is not a pun based on given the fact that half the plot's about an energy type, but I feel like those shows have energy, whereas this one kind of lacks it a lot of the time.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
I think this relies a lot on it being a period piece as well, and you enjoying just those two characters really. Yeah. Whereas Flash, I feel like I'm investing where the plot's going. Yeah. What's the overarching point of this season?
And ultimately, I'm not a guy who I mean, being set in a period doesn't put me off. Like, there's plenty of great stories set in different periods, but I'm not impressed by it being set in the 50s. I don't really care. Like, obviously it is because it's meant to be, years ago, and it's Peggy Carter from Captain America, but that alone is not going to entice me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Agent Carter's back with the first 2 episodes, and yeah, kind of more of the same really. Slightly better, but not shaking our worlds on fire. But guys, that's like what, 8 weeks to Shield's back. Countdown.
So far. That's so far.
Oh god, I know.
Well,
yeah, guys,
to be fair, just a couple of months. Daredevil season 2.
That is true. March 18th, I believe. You can expect a review of that, of course, on March 19th.
That's about 8 weeks from now too.
Yeah, I think Shield's back early March 10th.
Yeah, it's not far off. Yeah, it's pretty close. Alright, so guys, that's been Agent Carter. Obviously, we're back next week, episode 3. Let us know what you thought down below, or tweet at us, or whatever it is you want to do.